Hey, listeners, thanks for joining us today. Welcome to the 9 Arts podcast. As a reminder, we are starting out our podcast series with a grouping of stories to really flesh out the perspective and the views behind our state of the art report data. The state of the art report analyzes the importance of creating meaningful art experiences in the built environment. So if you haven't already, take a look at those numbers. I think you might find some really interesting and surprising statistics. Today, our guest is Nicole Nathan. She's principal at Nathan Strohe, and Nicole and I first had the opportunity to work together on the Metropolitan State Hotel, and this was back in 2012. Nicole and I were able to create a really fascinating collection that's based on the work of students, faculty, and alum from the university. So it's really a view of the past, present, and the future of the university within the hotel that was on site. So I'm excited to share with you her perspective today. She's a great collaborator and knows how to build great cities that involve not only great architecture, but also great culture. Please check out Nicole at her website, JNS Design. That's jns.design to learn more about what they're doing at Nathan Strohe. And let's get on with the show. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining today. Happy to have you here. And we have Nicole Nathan, a principal with JNS. And I'm excited to have you on the show today, Nicole.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So, Nicole, tell our listeners a little bit more about what you do, how you got to where you are, and what you're working on now that excites you.
I'm an architect and I also practice interior design, and I am a partner at Nathan Strohe. We have a firm of about 16 people and a mix of architects and interior designers. And we love to work on hospitality, and we also work on multifamily projects. But we really feel like hospitality is in our blood, and we kind of use that as a piece throughout all of our projects. So it shows up everywhere. We are currently working on many projects. One of the ones that I'm super excited about right now is Fitzgerald, which is finishing up construction here in Denver on 18th and Market. Super exciting infill project that really kind of extends the fabric of lower downtown over towards the ballpark a little bit more, up on Market Street. So there was formerly a surface parking lot there. So it's really exciting to see this project come to life, and it is almost 300 units, multifamily. We're also breaking ground on a really cool project in Columbus, Ohio. It's a hotel. So it's been something we've been working on for quite a while, and I think it's going to be a great addition to it's in the Scioto Peninsula, which sits like right on the river. And so it's a really cool, multifaceted development there. And the hotel will be kind of the centerpiece and really kick off the entire development. So very excited to see that come to life.
Thanks for sharing those exciting things you're working on. I enjoyed hearing you talk about extending the urban fabric of the city. So that leads right into our first question today. What makes a great city, and what role does art and culture play in that?
Well, I think what makes a great city is when you walk out and there's lots of activity and you see people from all walks of life, and it has some diversity in terms of culture and also age, and just people from different walks of life doing different things. And I think that what makes it really great or super successful is having, lots of modes of transportation and really enhancing all of those things so that people can engage in the city. So, in terms of architecture and art and how that really enhances it, obviously we're creating this framework as we build architecture, and that really sets the stage for the experience that people have in a city. And art itself, as it works with architecture, they really kind of play off each other. And an art piece can make a person stop and take notice and really consider their surroundings in a way that maybe they're not doing with architecture. So, having an incredible art piece can cause an observer to really take everything in and really engage in, looking at, wow, suddenly you might see the volume of architecture in a way that you hadn't noticed before because you're looking at the art.
Can you tell us more about a couple, one or two projects or something that comes to mind when you think about an example of how artwork works well to enhance great architecture?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think one of our favorite examples here is just the Jerry block. And the Maven, you walk in and you have the big hand sculpture that you guys placed there, and that is really fantastic in terms of just instantly bringing you to become part of the placemaking of that space. It's very instantly um, engages you with the idea of the maker. And I think it's super successful. So that's one. And then the alley itself, just walking through that alley is fantastic because there's so many things to discover, which I think is really great part of the art in that space. Another example is the Ramble Hotel. So I love that courtyard there with the "Wish You Were Here" sign. That really makes that space feel incredible. It would really be a leaky space without that art piece there. And because it's there, you can sit and really engage in that courtyard space that really has some incredible architectural detail to it. And so it just becomes a space that you want to be in. It feels like a room, it feels like just an extension of the bar. And I think that's super successful.
The art almost makes a vignette, right? Kind of rounds out the architecture in that way. And same thing with the alley you were mentioning with Dairy Block, creating moments, everything that's scaled from a landmark installation that might help you see the volume of the building surrounding you, and then some surprise and delight moments throughout with little light up installations or murals that catch your attention and invite you down into the space. So lots of different things to see and experience.
For sure. And and it's great because you'll stop and look at some of those things. And then you might also, then you take in the fact that you've got this conglomeration of old and new architecture in that alley, for example, that's really great. So I love the way that those two things engage each other.
It's almost like the artwork was a way to connect all those different urban fabrics and all those different time periods.
Yeah, and really give it a sense of life.
What about the business benefits of incorporating art, social impact or community engagement? How are you thinking about that when you're approaching projects?
Well, I mean, I think one other great example of the business aspect is just like in Oceanside, we've been working on creating this new venue as part of the Spring Hill Suites Hotel there, which is the board house, which is an idea of it's sort of a retail aspect to the hotel where you can rent a surfboard or a snorkel or whatever and run down to the beach with these fun things to activate your stay there. And so the mural that we're putting on the outside of the building that really is right there, that is the facade of the board house itself. We've kind of spent a lot of time thinking about what that should be, and really having that engage with the community has been an important part of the conversation. And I think that is also a great way of creating a sort of um, buzz in terms of the business side. And so that will really engage people just to come and see the art itself, and then understand that, oh, you can actually you know rent a surfboard here and take it down to the beach. And so it really, from a business standpoint, it's a great um, sort of signage piece almost, but really more than that for the business. And then from this aspect of being part of the community, it really engages the community. There's a program there called Art That Excites, and it's got quite a following where people want to go and see different pieces throughout the city. And so it will be part of that, which is exciting.
Is art as attraction, drawing people in, creating that buzz and that activity, like you talked about earlier with the elements that create a great city.
Yeah, and it's also makes it attainable. So, people walking down the street, they may feel like, that's not that's outside of my breadth of things that I can do is go into that hotel or whatever it might be. But if there's that art piece there, then you can stop, and you're allowed to stop and look at that, and you have the sense that you're allowed to. And so it really breaks down some barriers in terms of, bringing people in.
And providing a public benefit.
Yes. Yeah.
And what about local artists? Do you find that that's an important priority when you're, talking with owners and developing what the program is going to be and the vision for these sites? Is that a factor that you're considering?
Yeah, I do think that local artists are important. I think that they have, a real connection to the community and a sense of what's happening and have a great way of articulating that in their art. And so it's great. And I think people really resonate with the idea that what they're seeing is an original art piece that is done by someone in that place. And so it can be an important part of placemaking again. And so I think that the locality of the artist is really important. And sometimes, I think a combination of both of those is good. Someone who's not from there and someone who is from there, and just it's great to see that juxtaposition of like what someone thinks of as of a certain place and kind of places that into a location, and then someone who's actually kind of that location. I think that having both of those is sometimes a cool juxtaposition.
As the architect, you take such a leading role on these projects. You probably have a number of different experts involved in every single thing that you're putting together. What's the value of working with an art consultant?
The great thing about working with an art consultant is that they can really do a lot of the legwork and the research of finding artists that are local or that speak to the story. We're really interested in creating a sense of context and place with our work, and it really has to tie to a story that we work around. And so, working with an art consultant can really just enhance that. We've got our hands full with the things that we do well. And for us, it's really important to find partners who can do that piece really well.
If we had a database of artist portfolios that you could log into online and sort through to see different artists in different areas or different ideas, is that something that you might be interested in taking a look at or using for your projects?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I do think that that would be a great resource for some projects. For some projects, I think I really like the leveraging your team in terms of having them because each time your team presents a particular artist, they have a whole story that comes with it, and I
Mhm.
think that that's really great stuff. That to weed through is tough, but I do think there are some projects where you just want a handful of pieces, and you have a really strong idea about it, and if you just could look through a database, it would be a fun way to do the work as well.
Yeah, do a quick view, but also remembering to bring that soul to the whole experience.
I think there's some certain pieces that are really important, and I think that your team does a great job of finding those. But then there are some other pieces, maybe more what I would almost consider filler pieces, where it'd be fun or just as productive, or maybe help with the telling of our story if we could get into those database and say, "Oh, Martha, I'm loving these 5 things,"
Mhm.
and then allowing your team to kind of enhance upon that.
So, after a year in a changing world from COVID, what are you going to bring with you into the future and what are you leaving behind?
I'm definitely gonna leave behind a lot of the crazy making. And by that, I mean, I just feel like, there was so much running here and there and, trying to meet, expectations from so many different, sources, and then traveling, maybe not, as much, but more intentionally for work. So I think the crazy making I will leave behind. What I will bring forward is just the appreciation I have for the people in my life and making sure that I make the time for that, and the balance that I feel. I feel more balanced in terms of my live work situation, and just thinking a little bit more about intentionally about things rather than kind of rushing through them. So I think that's the biggest thing I'll bring forward
I think we'll all appreciate a little bit more balance and focus in the years to come, I hope.
for sure.
Well, Nicole, how can people learn more about you and the work that you're doing? What's the best way for them to find you?
The best way is to go to our website, jns.design.
Great. Well, check out Nicole and the great work they're doing at jns.design. Nicole, thank you so much for being with us today. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Martha.